Today I'm in Akita Komogatake. This is one of my favorite volcanic areas, and it's also a very beary area. It's a place where multiple people have been attacked by bears. Here in Akita Prefecture, there have been some cases of man-eating black bears. So I thought this would be a good place to talk to you about bears and bear safety when you're outdoors here in Japan. First, I'm going to provide some general information about the type of bears there are in Japan, their habitat. Then I'd like to share a few stories of bear attacks that happened right around here in northern Japan, in Iwate, just over the last 3 weeks. Then finally, I'll explain what you should do if and when you do encounter a bear. On the main island of Japan, Honshu, as well as in Shikoku, the only type of bears that you'll encounter are the Asiatic black bear. In Japanese, those are called Tsukinowaguma. I think a lot of people from North America are used to dealing with black bears and don't find them very scary because there aren't that many deaths associated with them. This is a mistake. The bears here, though they may look similar, and in fact, if anything, they're a little bit smaller than a lot of the black bears can be, they are much more dangerous. The population has recently been increasing, and the number of bear attacks is on the rise over the last 10 years. Unlike in a lot of countries, this isn't because of human development encroaching on their natural habitat, generally speaking, but often because the opposite is happening in Japan. People are abandoning the rural areas, towns are becoming ghost towns, and people are retreating to the cities. So areas that bears once knew to steer clear of are now open ground to them, and they're encroaching on there looking for more food, especially as their population increases. These Asiatic black bears can get a taste for human food, and so generally, once they've attacked and tasted humans, they'll go after them again, and if they've eaten garbage or food left behind by campers or hikers, they get a taste for that and seek out humans as well, which is dangerous. Once the bears have gotten a taste for human food, they are going to seek that out again. And in fact, sometimes they can spread that like among other bears. Maybe there's some sort of oral tradition among the bears where they're like, hey, you know those people walking around with the bells? They're actually pretty delicious. In Hokkaido, there are brown bears, which are called higuma in Japan, and these are larger and more ferocious than the bears you find around here, where I live. But my experience is from living and hiking here in Honshu, and so in this video, I'm going to primarily talk about the black bears, not the brown bears, because I don't have firsthand experience with those brown bears. I'll leave that to people who do. Now, one bear generally gives birth to 1 to 3 cubs, and these cubs will stay with the mother bear for the first 2 years of their life. So if you see a bear cub, or 2 or 3, mom is close by, and these mama bears are, as I'm sure you know, famously nervous and protective, and will freak out and attack you if they feel that you might be any threat to their cubs. I've been paying attention to bear attacks in the news recently, and so let me tell you about 3 separate cases that just happened within the last 2 weeks. All of these took place in Iwate, here where I live. In the first one of these cases, a man in Miyako was attacked in town, walking on a rural road, and a bear just sort of leaped out of the bushes when he was walking his dog and came at him. He was carrying an umbrella, which he tried to beat off the bear with, and he escaped with minor injuries. He was bitten and clawed a little bit, but both of them lived and were taken to the hospital. They were fine. In the second case, which was in Kitakami in central Iwate, a forestry worker was returning to his vehicle at 9:30 in the morning. He was with 6 others, but they were not right next to him at the moment. And as he was alone going back to his vehicle, a bear leaped out of the bushes, climbed a fence that was between him and the bear, and proceeded to attack him, biting and clawing him before running away again. In this case, the man was injured and hospitalized briefly, but again, nothing life-threatening. It wasn't too bad. And then the final case, which I believe took place on June 1st this year, 2022, in Rikuzen Takata City, which is southeast of Morioka on the coast, a beekeeper was tending to his hives when a bear came out of the nearby forest and approached the beehive looking for honey, as you might expect. Now, this beekeeper didn't want the bear, obviously, to destroy his hive, and so he picked up a farming scythe that he had nearby and swung it around, managing to scare the bear away. However, the bear wasn't done. You see, you can hear a bear bell maybe in the background, maybe you can't. I'll talk about those bear bells in just a minute after I finish this story. After the beekeeper chased the bear away with his farming scythe, it came back, this time charging directly at the beer. Yeah, it was charging at the beer. The beekeeper did manage to scare the bear off, but it immediately returned. This time, not going after the hive, but charging directly for the beekeeper himself. Now, this was a 73-year-old man, but apparently he still had some good arms because he used his farming scythe to hack at the bear as it came at him, and he killed the bear with his farming scythe. You can see how tough some of these locals are around here. So those are 3 stories of bear attacks just in June, just in the last really week and a half, actually. Now about bear attacks. A huge majority of them actually occur right on the edge of small villages and towns, not on hiking trails. And another huge majority of them occur when people are foraging for wild vegetables, like I do every year, off trail. People in Japan generally believe in using a bear bell to keep away or scare away bears. There is no conclusive evidence on the effectiveness of bear bells, but it is true that generally speaking, if you announce your presence to bears, they will keep away from you. Whether you're doing that with a bell, by talking, by calling out once in a while, by playing a radio, those are all things that some people do to sort of let the bears know, human coming through, stay away. That said, the bears here in Japan have very individual personality. Some bears are shy and are going to stay away when they hear a bell or people talking. Other bears don't even care. They're just going to walk right on by. And I've had bears walk right ahead of me on the trail when I was talking rather loudly. And they just sort of stopped, looked at me, thought, what's this guy? Whatever, and then kept walking. Other bears are aggressive, like some of the stories I just told, and upon seeing a human will charge at them and attack. So there's a real variation in the personality of bears and maybe how they're feeling that day, who knows. It does seem likely, however, that most bears are shy. Most bears are timid, and generally speaking, if you're talking with your friends or making noise, they're going to stay away and you'll never even notice that they were nearby. So I would say that's a general good practice. So let's say you see a bear. First, let's say that you just spot a bear at a distance, it hasn't noticed you yet, and it's walking in your general direction. What I have heard from experts is that if you're not alone, if you're with someone else, what I heard you should do is tell your friend to run as fast as they can in another direction. Then the bear will see them, chase after them, and you'll be fine. I don't know if he was a park ranger, but a professional park employee told me that joke. He said, yeah, tell your friend to run if you see a bear, then the bear will chase after them and you'll be fine. No, seriously, if you see a bear and it hasn't noticed you, what you're supposed to do is stop and talk to it. Call out to it, not in a loud, aggressive voice, not like, hey, you, get out of here, but more just say, oh, hey, bear, how's it going? Human here, how you doing? You basically just let it know you're there. Again, because there's this individuality among the personality of bears, if you yell at it aggressively, some bears will be like, oh, you're talking to me, huh? And they'll come at you at that point. That is not unheard of for these unpredictable Japanese bears. So you don't want to yell at it to scare it away, just let it know you're there. And I've done this, I believe it was last year, I saw a bear coming out of the forest towards me, and it was fairly far away. And so I just took out my pepper spray, so I had it, and sort of let it know I was there, and it turned around and ran. And that's what they'll do in the vast majority of cases. So let's say you see a bear, and it's close up, but it's stopped and it's just looking at you. In that case too, you just want to stop, maybe talk to the bear calmly. Oh, hey bear, I'm a human, what's up? And you want to maybe slowly back away. What you don't want to do is turn away from it. You don't want to show it your back, and you definitely never want to run away from a bear. If you run away from a bear, that's going to, as you probably know, trigger those instincts, and it's going to just chase after you, and then it will hurt you, almost certainly. So you never run from bears. That's the worst thing you can do. If a bear actually attacks you, then it's a good idea to fight it off. With the Japanese black bears, you do not want to play dead. That's not going to work. And so I always carry pepper spray, bear pepper spray. I have some on me right now as well. If you don't have pepper spray, you just make do with what you have. Do you have a walking stick, something like that? You know, use it like a baseball bat, whack at it. You do want to fight a black bear. That is a good idea because they're not that big. They can hospitalize you and they can kill you, but if you're a reasonably healthy adult, you've got a good chance against one. You know, punch him in the eye, poke him in the eye, whatever. I would recommend carrying pepper spray, and you can buy it in Japan both on Amazon and at some hiking outfitter shops. I don't think you can bring it with you into Japan though. That probably wouldn't get through the airport. I've been carrying pepper spray for the last 2 years now, but I've never ever used it. It's just sort of a lucky charm, makes you feel a little bit more safe. Probably it isn't necessary, but yeah, it just makes me feel that much more safe. I don't think you really have to worry about bears if you're just visiting Japan and doing a few hikes. Your chances of meeting them are extraordinarily low. I don't want anyone to feel like, wow, Japan is so dangerous. I don't want to go hiking there. There's bears, man-eating bears, because that's really almost certainly not going to happen. I haven't seen any bears yet this year, and I've been hiking dozens of times already. I generally bump into bears about once a year, and I've never had a bear act aggressively towards me. Almost every time I've seen a bear, they were already running away, or as soon as they noticed me, they went away from me. And so it's extraordinarily unlikely that you're going to be attacked by a bear. That said, it's always a good idea to know best practices and to be aware of what, however small, the potential risks are. I hope this has been interesting and useful for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the trails.